Hi, thanks for joining us. It's great to introduce the 2021 Jaguar coaching staff. I spent the good portion of last month putting this puzzle together. It's a mix of really incredible NFL experience when you look at it along with collegiate experience with the transition of the game of the NFL moving more towards the schematics of college football. Qualities I look for, experts at what they do. I believe 904 deserves the very best. I feel great about the staff. Took a lot of time, a lot of effort. The most interviews I've really ever had in my career to put this thing together, but I feel great about it. And obviously time will judge and time will test how we do. I feel great about it, and we'll take any questions from you guys.
All right, thank you, Coach. We're going to begin with John Osher of Jaguars.com.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering about Charlie Strong. How important was that hire, and what will his role be as the assistant head coach?
Yeah, he was my first hire. He's going to be the number 2. That means the assistant head coach, and he'll be in front of the team. He'll be my right-hand man, as he's been many, many times over my time at Florida. I always tell people that the chance of us winning those 2 national championships without Charlie Strong would not have happened. High character guy, great family, someone that I trust explicitly, and then also a guy that, a guy I just feel very strong about being in front of the team, being in that locker room, and being at my side. So first hire, and arguably one of the most, if not the most important hire.
All right, thanks, John. Let's go over to Gene Fernett of the Florida Times-Union, and then Mike Dirocco.
Hey, Urban, could you talk a little bit about how you forged your relationship with Joe Cullen, and did you try to hire him, I believe maybe in your second year at Ohio State?
I've known Joe Cullen a long time. I've always studied his defensive line play. He's considered, if not the best, one of the best defensive line coaches in the game. But I've known Joe a long time. I also have tremendous respect for the way the Baltimore Ravens play defense. Now we're going to be the Jaguar defense, but systematic. When he came on, the systematic style, they go about their business, the history of success, and the fact that he came in his interview, and we interviewed quite a few people for that position, and he did an excellent job.
Did you try to hire him your second year at Ohio State?
I had conversations with him about joining. I want to say even in Florida, we had conversations, and it never, we couldn't find the right fit. But he's a guy that I've looked forward to get on my staff several times.
Thanks, Gene. All right, let's go over to Mike Dirocco.
Urban, can you address the hiring of Chris Doyle? He left Iowa, had a separation agreement there after some allegations of racist remarks and bullying and belittling some black players there.
Yeah, I've known Chris for close to 20 years. Our relationship goes back to when I was at Utah, and he was the #1 strength coach. And really, he was doing sports performance before sports performance became a high priority in college sports. And so I've known him, I've studied him. We've had a relationship. I vetted him thoroughly along with our general manager and owner. Feel great about the hire, about his expertise at that position. So we vetted him thoroughly, and sports performance is going to be a high priority as it really in the last probably 10 years, really certainly at Ohio State, that became, if not the most important. You guys know my relationship with Coach Marotti at Ohio State, but this whole from strength training room, physical therapy, sports psychology, nutrition, that all falls under the sports performance team umbrella, and I wanted to get the best of the best.
Yeah, no reservations hiring him based on the allegations and what happened at Iowa, and why hire him instead of going in a different direction?
Oh, sure. I vet everyone on our staff, and like I said, the relationship goes back close to 20 years, and a lot of hard questions asked, a lot of vetting involved, and with all our staff. But we did a very good job vetting that one.
So you're confident there's not going to be any issues?
Yeah, there won't.
Going forward?
very confident.
All right, thanks, D-Rock. Let's go over to Mark Long and then Cole Pepper.
Yeah, did you have to get Shad's permission to hire him, Chris Doyle?
Shad was involved with our high-end hires, and he was involved.
And are you at all concerned that him being in the building will impact your ability to attract free agents?
If I was, I wouldn't have hired him. Once again, I'll explain that if that becomes a question. The one thing I'm very confident is that I would imagine within a year or two we'll have the best sports performance team in the National Football League. And as far as, last few years, we've had serious issues with injuries. I want to say 63 games were missed on just the defensive side of the ball because of injuries, where in 2017 there were only 2. So keeping players healthy at their maximum performance is a high priority and mine has really changed over the years about the priority of that. In Ohio State, we became, I'm very biased, but we became the best in college football. Now our job is to make sure we become the best in professional football.
Thanks, Mark. All right, let's go over to Cole Pepper and then Mia O'Brien.
Urban, of the guys, you have a number of guys who you have coached with in the past on this staff. Of the guys who you didn't have a previous history coaching with, what were important traits to really understand and learn about them? You talk about them being experts in their area, so there's a reputation, but are there things beyond what they've done that you were looking forward to be a part of this staff?
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges in National Football League you don't have in college. Contracts, how fast. I was hired at a time where we put in the paperwork, which was fairly new to me. You put in paperwork and want to visit with people under contract in the National Football League. And a lot of guys were, even before I was in my position at Jacksonville, and I never even got them on the organization to get the interview in. So that was new to me. I mean, this was I don't want to say college is much easier, but college, you don't have the same issues as far as contractual obligations to NFL franchises. And I mean, for every spot, there was multiple interviews. And it was expertise is what I like to say is, as I will tell our team, that my job is to provide you with the best of the best of the best. And that's to enhance your value as a player. And how do you enhance your value as a player? You become an expert at what you do and you play for a great organization and win games. And so you're going to hear that quite often. My number one responsibility is enhance these players' value. And by the way, winning games enhances everyone's value.
Thank you, Cole. All right, let's go to Mia O'Brien and then JP Shadrick.
Hi, Coach. Just circling back to Chris Doyle's hire. Obviously, this was the youngest roster in the NFL last year. It will be a young roster again. Given that a lot of these guys were in college when a lot of those allegations surfaced, how do you feel that your players will respond to this hire?
Well, I met with our staff about it, and I'm going to be very transparent with all the players like I am with everything, and listen closely and learn. And also, there's going to have to be some trust in their head coach that we're going to give them the very best of the best. And time will tell. Once again, a player that's hurt and not performing or not maximized with strength and prehab ability, so they're getting hurt or they're not performing at the highest level, I think is a high priority. The allegations that took place, I will share, I vetted them. I know the person for close to 20 years, and I can assure them there will be nothing of any sort in the Jaguar facility.
And what do you envision day-to-day wise? What will his relationship, his role be with players? Obviously, I know there's a lot of new titles. It's not just like there's one strength and conditioning coach. What would his day-to-day role be?
He's a director, so he reports directly to me, and then underneath them you have the strength program, you have the training room, you have the equipment room, you have sports psychology, and I don't have it in front of me. Anyone who has any contact with our players will be direct reports to Chris, and his job is to make sure we're doing the best of the best. So when with the strength staff, we study all the analytics involved in training. Also, the physical therapist, which is he's a expert in these areas. There's just anything sports performance related, and I also include the equipment room in that. I obviously include our nutrition, our nutrition program. So all those will fall under the direction of Chris. By the way, we'll have, like I did at Ohio State, we'll have, in 2014, we won a national championship because we had 0 soft tissue injuries. And I can give you a bunch of statistical information about what's going on here the last couple of years, and it's not very good. It's something that had to be completely revisited, and at the end of the day, make sure these guys are getting I call it the culture of excellence, and it's going to be the best of the best. How's our training table? Better be the best of the best. How's our weight training and prehab to make sure these guys are getting the very best? And we put together a new strength staff I feel great about. We're still in conversation about the training, athletic trainers to make sure they're the best of the best. And I feel very good about our nutrition, but I can go through each one. That's going to be very important. I'm going to spend as much time on that as I have our coaching staff.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mia.
One quick thought. Oh, okay. All right. No
Yeah,
worries.
sorry, we got to move on. Let me go ahead and go to JP Shadrick.
Hey, Urban. Offensive coordinator Bevell and the passing game coordinator Schottenheimer. How do you see those guys working together? What stood out about their interview process, and how do you keep the message consistent to the quarterback room?
Yeah, that was to tell you the amount of time I spent on that hire and the amount of people we interviewed was as many as I've really ever done. I knew of Darrell Bevell. Have always had great respect. Our coach Day studied under him a little bit. Not directly coaching for him. I did speak with Ryan. I did speak with several coordinators, and his interview was by far the best. His ability to adapt to my vision of the offense, which is a little different maybe than he's done in the past. The flexibility and not rigidness that was very important to me because we do have the first pick in the draft. And there is a vision that I have about the style of offense. I'm certainly not going to call plays. That's his responsibility. But I have a real clear vision of what I want the offense to look like. And he was great. And then you have an opportunity to hire a guy like, and by the way, Brett Favre is, I called, 10 people about Darrell and Brett Favre, who I've known for quite some time. When he made a comment, that's as good a coach as he's ever been around. And by the way, I had my best year with him at Minnesota. And he said, hire the guy. Brett Favre, the respect I think we all have for him. I listened closely. And then Brian Schottenheimer was great. The success or the years that Russell Wilson had, you go back to Sam Bradford. You look at Mark Sanchez, what they did at New York Jets, and his background. I've known Brian from when I was at the University of Florida is when I first met Brian. So I think the two of them together, we met at great lengths before Brian decided to come with us because he had other opportunities. And so far after, a week of having them together and being involved in those meetings, if you had to say what's my favorite thing to do right now would be to go sit in those offensive meetings and hear our offensive staff have conversations.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Coach, for your time. We really appreciate it. Guys, if everyone wants to hang tight, we're going to switch out, and Coach Strong will be with us in just a minute. So I've lowered everyone's hand. If you have a question for Coach Strong, just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll be sure to get to you. We'll have about 10 or so minutes with Charlie. Questions.
Well, I'm really excited to be here, and I know that Coach Meyer already said it. I was one of his first hires, and I can remember we had a conversation this summer we were just sitting around talking, and I said, hey, we got one more run in us now. We got to make one more run. He's like, don't ask me to do that. And I said, I know you want to do it because it's still in you. And I just think about the relationship that we've developed over the years, and then, the success that we had at the University of Florida. And I know it's going to be, we have us a job here, but I'm really excited about the job here because I know that, with what he's done, the winning attitude that he has with every school that he's been to, that we can get that done here.
All right. Thanks, Coach. All right. Let's begin with Cassidy Hill, followed by Gary Smith.
Hey, Coach, nice to meet you. As you said, you thought y'all had one more run in you. You've gotten opportunities and had doors open the past year or so. Why was it so important to come back here with Coach Meyer and step into the NFL for the first time? What made you trust him enough to do that?
Well, the relationship that Coach and I have, and it's been a relationship. We started, and what a lot of people don't know, back in our days at Notre Dame, we were assistant coaches together. And then from there, he left and went to Bowling Green. I left and went to South Carolina. And then we reunited again at the University of Florida. But we've developed a relationship. It's been a relationship where we've been with some unbelievable programs, the 2 runs, the 2 national titles that we had at the University of Florida. And then we have a chance to come here to Jacksonville. And you're right, it's both of our first times being in the NFL, and it's what I said. But at the end of the day, coaching is all about relationships, and coaching is all about helping young men create value for themselves. And knowing that who he is and the staff that he has put together, I know that we can get that done here. And I'm just excited that, to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Cassidy. Let's go ahead to Gary Smith.
Yeah, Coach, why does the relationship with you and Urban work on a personal level? Why? Is it just the fact that you flat out like each other? You agree on defensive philosophy? How does that dynamic work?
Gary, I think we start and like with a lot of coaches, you don't develop that relationship that the 2 of us have. And I just think that, back in our Notre Dame days, we worked for Coach Holtz, and just some of these same things that he has taught us, each of us have used in our program. If he's had a lot of success, I haven't had the success that he had as a head coach. But, developing those relationships. But then we were able to come together and just set aside the football side of it and just, with the personal side where we can sit down and we can have a conversation, and I can bring things to him and he can bring things to me. And even being here, that has already happened where we can have that conversation where even if one of us disagrees with one another, we don't take it personal. I can say to him, okay, then, all right, I trust you on it. I believe that it's going to work. Let's go with it.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary. Let's go to Tony Wiggins and then Mike Dirocco.
Yes, hi, Coach. I have a question about alignment. Are you guys, have you guys settled up on an alignment on the defense, whether it's 3-4-4-3 or will it be multiple looks? And how far are you away from actually having the type of guys that you really, really need to go and line up tomorrow?
Well, Tony, the way the ball has evolved now, whether it be on a professional level or the collegiate level, you got to be very multiple on defense. Sometimes you can show 3 down, sometimes you can show 4 down, but it also goes back to the personnel. And we've been evaluating our personnel here, the last few days that we've been in. And so we know that we have some personnel here, but you always want to get more. And it's going to be conversations here in the next upcoming days where we go around to each position, and each position has a chance, each position coach has a chance to talk about his personnel and what his needs are. But you're looking at defenses, we're going to be very multiple, and you're going to have a chance to hear Coach Cullen here in a second. But we're going to be very multiple, and you have to be multiple just because of the way offenses are now.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Let's go to Mike Dirocco and then John Shipley.
Hey, Charlie. Had you considered an NFL move before, or how close were you to coming to the league before, or is this sort of the perfect opportunity for you?
Well, a combination of both, Mike. I have considered it before, but I can remember when I was coaching at the University of Florida with Coach Spurrier, he would let me go do internships, and I did them under the Saints when Coach Moore was the head coach, and then when Coach Fonts was in Detroit, I did them there. I did one with Coach Dungy. So I've always worked those camps in the summer, but I've always, I had opportunities to go coach on that level, but I just never did because I'm just where I was at the time with my career. And I just felt like, hey, I want to go be a head coach first and work to go be a head coach. And now that, with coach coming here and asking me to come here with him, this is a perfect opportunity, perfect storm, actually. And I'm just, looking forward to the challenge.
The trust level that he obviously has in you, that's got to be important for you as well, correct?
Well, it's when you're friends, but you develop that level just because of, he see my work ethic. I see how he work, and we're kind of the same type of person. We don't have any hobbies. We just, it's kind of just all ball for us. But that level, that trust level was something that we developed over the years.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, D-Rock. All right, let's go to John Shipley, and then we're going to finish with Mark Long.
Hey, Coach. In the time that you've been here so far, have you had a chance to go back and watch some of the tape on Miles Jack and Joe Schobert? And if so, what are your kind of evaluations on them?
Yes, I've had plenty. I've seen plenty of tape on both of them, and I look at Miles Jack as a guy that is very fluid, a guy that can get downhill, very athletic, and a guy who's really good at open space. And then yesterday Joe came by to see me for the first time. We sat down and talked a long time, and the same thing with Joe. You're looking at two backers that kind of are in the prime of their career, and because of the amount of time, the length of time that they have been in the NFL, but guys that can make plays and guys that will become the staple of our defense. Because if you're not good at linebacker, then you really don't have much of a chance to play really good defense. But I'm really, really looking forward to coaching both of them because they want to learn. You can tell they're learners. They want to learn, and they want to get better. It's all about creating value, and those guys want to create value for themselves, and they want to become the best.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, John. Let's finish up with Mark Long.
Charlie, you haven't aged a bit in 20 dang years. Maybe you just looked old in 1995 when we met.
I did. I looked too old at that time.
I mean, this is obviously a step toward becoming a head coach again. Is that what you're looking for, becoming a head coach in the NFL next?
Well, it just depends, Mark, on how things work out. And when you're talking about, hey, I want to become a head coach again or wherever it may be, I think for me right now, Mark, is just to make sure that, that we have a lot of work to do. And it's a challenge here with this organization right now. And when you're talking about, hey, we want to be the best we can be as coaches, we want to be the best that we can get our players. We want to get them to play at a level where there's discipline, where there's standard, there's an attitude. And, I don't know what's going to happen, but if things do happen the right way, and if we can get this program, which we will, that will happen. But, it's all about now just, working where we, get the players in here and give them a chance to meet us and see what we're all about. And then I think everything else will take care of itself.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
And thanks, Coach, for your time. We appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you.
Everyone, we're going to switch out really quick. Coach Cullen will be available next. So if you have a question for Coach Cullen, go ahead and throw your hand up. Again.
Yes, first of all, it's a great honor to be part of Coach Meyer's first staff and to be back in Jacksonville. I spent 2010 to 2012 here, and I'm excited. Coach is one of the winningest coaches in the history of the game, and when he called for me to come down to interview, I was excited and ready to go.
Great, thanks. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll start with Gene Fernett of the Florida Times-Union. Gene, are you there? I think you might still be on mute. All right, well, we'll come back from Gene. We're going to go ahead and go to Culpepper.
Jeez.
Hey, Joe. Welcome back. How much time have you spent looking at the personnel that you have? Charlie was just talking about being multiple in the defense, and you've worked both 4-3-3-4 stuff. There's been a lot of talk about where this defense might fit the best. Where are you right now in that process, and how do you see things playing out in terms of this defense?
Well, we're still evaluating, our current roster, and I've been involved with in 14 years, 8 years in a 4-3 scheme where we were multiple, and 6 years in a 3-4 scheme where we were multiple, and it's all tailored to the personnel that you have. And I think in both schemes, you have flexibility to do both.
All right, thanks, Cole. Let's see if Gene's available.
You go there the one time, and crap, you're so bad on iPhone.
Where am I looking, Dave?
I believe you're still on mute, Gene.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thanks. Welcome back, Joe. When you look at the defense, particularly the last 2 years, the inability to stop the run, the lack of a pass rush, I mean, what do you feel like you need to focus on first? What needs to get right first for this defense to get where you want it to be?
Well, great question, Gene, and great to be back. I think like anything, you keep improving every day. As a defense, you want to be an attacking defense. You want to be one that starts with, you got to stop the run. A lot of people say it's a throwing league, but if it's second and 3 and 3rd and 1 all day, you're not going to have an opportunity to get after the quarterback. But I just think as the Jaguars move forward, we just continue to get better and keep doing things where we're a defense that will not only stop the run but get after the quarterback.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gene. All right, let's go over to Demetrius Harvey and then Cassidy Hill.
Hey, Coach. I hope you're doing well. Just can you talk about guys like Sterling Lucas and Zachary Orr, obviously guys you've worked with in the past? What did they sort of bring to the table on this coaching staff?
Well, I think first and foremost, Coach has hired a great staff, and the Jaguars' defensive staff is a great staff. And, Zach and Sterling, I was with 5 years, and they have a great knowledge of the defense. And there are two guys that Zach played in the system and then coached with me side by side for the last 4 years, as well as Sterling. Just a great knowledge. They have great energy. They're great working with players, and those were two key guys, as the rest of our staff was as well.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Demetrius. All right, let's go over to Cassidy Hill and then Mark Long.
Hey, Coach, nice to meet you. As you said, you kind of have versatility with guys to run a 3-4 or 4-3, but have you specifically evaluated Josh Allen and Clavion Chaseon yet, and where do you see them lining up and how?
Good question. I definitely have evaluated those guys, not only coming out where I was at before, but obviously here, and they could play in either scheme. I mean, both of those guys are versatile. They're athletic. They can put their hand down. They can stand up. They can do a lot of different things, and I'm excited.
All right, thanks, Cassidy. Let's go to Mark Long and then Mia O'Brien.
Hey, Joe, welcome back. The trend, obviously, in the NFL has been to have secondary coaches become defensive coordinators. I'm just curious, what do you see that you'll bring different as a D-line guy with a history? And then how are you looking forward to this, really your first opportunity at this level to be the man in charge on the defensive side?
Well, I think first and foremost, the Jaguars defense, we're going to have a collaborative staff and great knowledge in our staff room. But, when you look at the guys that I've trained under, Rod Marinelli, longtime defensive line coach, Lovie Smith, Jack Del Rio. When I went to Baltimore, Dean Pease and Wink Martindale, who's done a great job, and Coach Harbaugh. I've had a lot of different experiences, and there's been some great coordinators, not only from the secondary but also from the front end. And I think it's like anything. I mean, when you get the opportunity and you're asked to call a defense, it's going to be a collaborative effort, and also it's the things that you've experienced in the past, and I'm excited about it.
All right, thank you. Let's go on to Mia and then John Shipley.
Hey, Coach, nice to meet you. Just curious, for you, first coordinator position, correct me if I'm wrong, at the NFL level, and you get to come back to Jacksonville. What do both of those two things mean to you?
Well, nice to meet you, Mia. First of all, Jacksonville is a special place. I was here before Coach Del Rio and Wayne Weaver. I'm grateful and Gene Smith when they brought me back. And then I was here in 2012 when Mr. Khan bought the team, and I was grateful to stay there. And then always thought I might come back someday because it was a great area, great organization. And when Coach Meyer called, I was really excited to have the opportunity to come down. And again, being a first-time defense coordinator at the NFL level, as I've said in the last question when Mark asked, I've been a coordinator before and have learned from some great defensive minds, not only head coaches, but also positional coaches that became coordinators. And I think, one thing as a defensive staff, what we're all going to have say, and I'm excited about the staff we've put together and also about the opportunity that Coach Meyer and Shad and Trent are giving me here to lead the defense.
All right,
Awesome.
thanks,
Thank
Mia.
you.
All right, we'll go ahead to John Shipley, and that'll be the last question for Coach.
Hey, Coach. Nice to meet you. Just how important were those years in Baltimore really to you, just in terms of really, you've been around, but in terms of showing you, how to put together a multiple defense?
Well, it was vital. And like I said, I've been 14 years in the NFL, and that's a great question. I had an opportunity to be in a 4-3 scheme and also the opportunity to be in a 3-4 scheme, and the versatility that can go with both schemes and the way they did things from Ozzie Smith and Eric DeCosta and Coach Harbaugh, and then learning under Wink was valuable. Just a great knowledge of my 5 years in Dean Pease in the Baltimore system.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thanks, John. And thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we're going to make the switch. Coach Bevell will be next. Opening words, and then we'll take questions.
All right. First of all, just excited to be here down in Jacksonville. Looking forward to getting to meet everybody. Obviously, right now we're not meeting everybody in person, but maybe at some point we'll be able to do that. But looking forward to working with you for hopefully a long time. So I'm ready to roll.
Sounds good. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with Mia O'Brien, followed by JP Shadrick.
Hey, Coach, nice to meet you. I'm curious what your evaluation of the quarterback position going into this year has been for the Jaguars.
Yeah, thanks, Mia, right? Okay, I see you up there in the top left. Just excited to kind of really dive into the roster. We're just beginning, just these last couple weeks kind of diving in, really looking at every position. And it's really continuing right now, even as we speak, to go through those. The quarterbacks, obviously, there's great stuff to look at. There's things that we'd like to improve on in the position. But still, I want to make sure that I gain more information, obviously, with, getting to meet them and, kind of adding that part of the puzzle into it as well. What they believe in, how important it is to them. Garner Minshew's already been in here one day, just passed through, got to say hi to him. So still just working to get to know all the guys at this point.
And obviously, the Jaguars will have the #1 overall pick in this April's draft. You guys, I know, have been busy trying to just get around the office, learn the area. How much have you evaluated prospects at the quarterback position?
Yeah, again, just scratching the surface on it. We've begun to look at a few of them. So I've seen a little bit of tape on Trevor, seen a little bit of tape on Justin Fields. So we'll continue to do that. That's going to be a long process, ongoing process as we work this thing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mia. Let's go to JP Shadrick and then John Reed.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm interested about your relationship with the pass game coordinator. That feels like a relatively new phenomena in coaching staffs around football to have that title. How do you guys work together? And so far, how have you gotten along with Schottenheimer?
Yeah, Brian and I have kind of had a similar track, just kind of following each other through the coaching ranks. We've never worked together. I'm actually really excited about the opportunity to work with them. Kind of funny that both of us were in Seattle, following each other. But I'm excited to work with a guy that's got a lot of knowledge. He's been around some great quarterbacks. I've been around some great quarterbacks. So I think it's going to be really a great team for us to be able to put our heads together and, be able to work with a young quarterback that we're going to bring in here.
And one more follow-up, Amanda, if I can. It seemed like Coach Meyer was pretty specific on the vision he has for the offense. How have those conversations gone during the interview process?
Oh, outstanding. I think I'm super excited to be here. I feel really fortunate to be able to be here in this experience. And obviously working with Coach Meyer. And, it was a great interview process that I went through. I think it's a little bit unique in terms of, I hadn't really had any circles that ran across Urban Meyer, and so obviously super excited to be here and in the situation that we're in here in Jacksonville with, a lot of great things getting ready to happen on the horizon.
All right. Thanks, JP. Let's go over to John Reed and then Brent Martino.
How you doing, Coach? Will you be going to Clemson tomorrow for the workout?
I will be there, yes.
Any other offensive coaches will be there?
I know that Coach Meyer's going, I'm going, and Brian Schottenheimer's going.
And just a follow-up, how different you think it's going to be for you to evaluate those prospects when you don't really have the combine this year?
It's going to be different. Obviously we're going to have to do a great job of, I think the most important things with the combine is the background and those kind of things. There'll still be a pro day that we'll be able to get to. And we'll be there to watch all those guys throw in person because I think that's really important to see the ball come out of their hands. But we'll have to use all the other stuff that at our disposal. We'll be able to use the Zoom calls. Obviously, we'll be on phone calls as well. And everything that we have, because this is going to be a huge, huge undertaking for us. A very important pick, and we got to make a great decision.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, John. Let's go to Brent Martino and then Demetrius Harvey.
All right, I'm going to give this a whirl. I'm on my way to Clemson, so I hope the signal comes in okay. Coach, what do you hope to see tomorrow in a workout like this from Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's just important, like I said earlier, just to see the ball come out of his hands. I think that one of the hardest thing to do on tape is one, to be able to tell velocity and just the way it comes out of his hand. Also, I want to see, the command that he's going to have, kind of our first opportunity to be able to get him in person. So excited to do that. We won't be able to, to meet and talk to him like we normally would before or after. So it's just going to be, the workout itself. But excited to watch him throw in person.
Thanks. One other follow-up, if you don't mind. Working with guys, Stafford and Wilson and those big-time quarterbacks, whoever you guys draft, having a franchise QB, how much will those relationships, experiences, you'll be able to help a young guy coming into the league be kind of the man, of a franchise?
Yeah, that's another reason why I'm just super excited about the staff that Coach Meyer's been able to put together. I mean, myself with my background, with obviously Brett Favre and Stafford and Russell Wilson and those kind of guys, I was able to take Russell Wilson as a rookie, and then kind of start his career. And then, with Brian Schottenheimer and the guys that he's been around, with Phillip Rivers and those kind of guys. So there's a lot of experience on this staff in terms of quarterbacks, some of the best quarterbacks in that's played in the game. So I think we have good knowledge and experience in bringing a young quarterback to play.
All right. Thanks, Brent, and drive safe. Let's do two more, Demetrius Harvey and Cole Pepper.
Hey, Coach, it's good to meet you. Last year, the Jaguars relied heavily on James Robinson in terms of the running game. If you've been able to sort of look at his tape and sort of how would you evaluate him, and then sort of how important is the running back position in your offense?
Yeah, I mean, the running back position is huge. It does a lot of things. It's in my mind, it sets up a lot that you can do in the play action game and the movement game. James, had an outstanding year. I was able to meet him for the first time today. He was in the weight room, so got to say hi to him just for a second. But had a really nice year for himself. Obviously, an undrafted rookie coming out and played really well. I like his skill set. I like the way he caught the ball. He's got really good vision. He's got great contact balance. He can make guys miss at the second level. He can make guys miss and get what we need to. Obviously, he'll continue to work on speed and those kind of things. But really like what he's done and look forward to working with him.
Thank you.
Thanks, Demetrius. Let's finish up with Culpepper.
Hi, Darrell. One of the things that Urban mentioned was that he really liked the way that you were able to communicate taking his offense and kind of adapting it. Can you talk about how much you have to change or adapt or mold an offense that's been utilized in the college game to be effective in the modern NFL game?
Well, I think one of the things I think that really helped me, excuse me, was when we first got Russell Wilson. It wasn't something that I had done in the past. The zone run game and the quarterback zone read game, that kind of thing. So it was something that myself, Tom Cable, when we were there, we began to kind of dive into that. So I think the background that I had there was able to help me in the communication with Coach Meyer and some of the things that we started to do with Russell. What can carry over from the college game to our game? I'm going to be able to help Coach Meyer in that. Coach Meyer is going to be able to push me in some other directions as well. So I think it's a great partnership with myself and the staff that we have and Coach Meyer to be able to kind of bring whatever we're going to do as the Jacksonville Jaguars to life.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cole. And thank you, Coach, for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, we'll have one more. Coach Schneider will be here. Hi, Coach. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Great. Do you want to say a few words before we begin?
Sure, yeah. Going last is great. You guys are ready to get rolling. Really, just my family and I are so excited to be down here with Coach Meyer and really excited to get going and really build from the ground up. Seeing from afar what he's accomplished and just really to get the philosophy and just get in and start building. So we're really excited.
Fantastic. All right, we'll get started with John Osher and then Tony Wiggins.
Hey, Coach, nice to meet you. Obviously, long career in Seattle. What appealed to you about this and why now?
Really, Urban and Coach Meyer and the success he's had, the philosophy that he has. I wanted to get in on that and learn as much as I can about that. I love that, being with Pete and being with Pete from the transition to USC to Seattle and the NFL was a wonderful experience. And, those guys in Seattle, I love them. I love Pete. I love John Schneider. And just the opportunity to grow and really see another way to do things as I continue to grow in my philosophy. It's just too good of an opportunity to pass up. And really, when the thing that's most important to me is to see it built from the ground up. And that's what's going to happen. And just unbelievable, lucky and excited to be here.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Thanks, John. All right, let's go to Tony Wiggins.
Hey, Coach, I got a question for you. In your history, did you guys use a lot of actual starters and guys that played a lot from the offense and defensive scrimmage on special teams? And do you look forward to doing that here?
Yeah, we did. And every situation's different. Every year's different. But Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor, who are Pro Bowlers, could be Hall of Famers, were on our kickoff team pretty much the whole time there. And what I love about that is Cam would not come off. He would not come off kickoff. And so as a coach, for me to sit there in a meeting and talk to a rookie or, talk to anyone else that doesn't know the value or see the value, they were my best ambassadors. You know what I mean? You got two Pro Bowl safeties that will not come off kickoff. And they were our leading tacklers a lot of the time. So, when Doug Baldwin signed a huge contract extension, I called him to congratulate him. The first thing he said to me was, "You better not take me off kick or punt return." And he said some other words with that, but and that's not a returner. That's a guy holding up. So I think when the locker room is built that way, and it makes my job easy. And I think they saw the value of field position, the value of a play as a play. You know, offensive play, defensive play, special teams is just as important. And when I know Coach Meyer's all about that, and he's going to preach that, but when our players can see that, and that's my job, is to let them know that, then all of a sudden it takes on a different level.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Let's go to Brent Martino.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the early years with Pete Carroll. How hard was that transition to the NFL? What have you learned? What's the hurdle to go for Coach Urban Meyer with this set of players as professionals rather than collegiate athletes?
Well, that's what I think is so intriguing about being here. I've actually seen it work. I was with Coach Carroll at USC in 2009, and then I made the transition with them to Seattle. And the number one thing is I saw Pete not change. I saw Pete with his philosophy that is really, really clear to Pete Carroll. And I saw him implement that into the NFL, and I saw that thing take off. Similar to Coach Meyer, I love being here in 2 weeks. He has a really, really clear plan. And he wants everyone in alignment, which is taking place right now as the staff. And his philosophy is going to work. I mean, it's proven, right? So I know how that transition looks, and I'm really excited to be a part of it because I know how it does look, and it works.
All right. Thank you, Brent. Looks like we're going to finish up with one more from JP Shadrick.
Hey, Coach, question about your specialists. Logan Cook, what kind of punter is he that you've seen so far? And this team went through 6 kickers last year. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of anything like that, but tell us what you know about Josh Lambo.
Yeah, no, we interview those guys when they're at the combine, and so you start to form your opinion as football players, and then you play and you watch them, and really good, talented players. I mean, you look at both of them. Logan can do a lot of things with the football, which a lot of punters are being able to do. But just his disposition, I'm just starting to get to know him. So we've had phone conversations, and really to me, the mindset of every player is the most important. I mean, everyone can measure what they do on the field, and you watch tape and you see it. And what's the most important to me with all of our players is really getting to the mindset, what drives them, the competition, the leadership. Like all those things that make people special is really what we got to find out. So as we go through that, I just know their body of work has been really good. I think Lambo's missed 4 or 5 kicks here since he's been here. That's production, and Logan's just really talented when you watch him on tape. And now getting to know him is the next process as we continue down the road. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, JP. Looks like one more we have from Cassidy that just snuck in.
I did. I just thought of something. Hi,
Nice.
Coach. Nice to meet you. Keelan Cole will be a free agent this offseason. Have you been able to watch much tape of him on special teams? He had the return for a touchdown. He even almost successfully kicked an onside kick last year. How much can you advocate for bringing him back just for your own benefit?
Well, the one thing, and again, he's a free agent, so we really don't talk about him that much, not allowed to. But what he is, he's a really natural fielder. And that's really number one when you start looking at all returners, especially punt returners, because the punters are getting so good that there are so many different kind of balls kicked to them, different spin, different angles, direction. So you have to be able to track that thing, number one, and you have to be able to field it with your feet underneath you, which is really natural for him. So I really like that, and I really like to look more into him on what his abilities are.
All right. Thanks, Cassidy. Appreciate your time. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today as well.
Appreciate it.